Discrete Mathematical Structures, MAT 203. We have module 5, that is algebraic structures. The syllabus goes on like this: algebraic system, properties, homomorphism and isomorphism, semi-group and monoid, cyclic monoid, sub-semi-group and submonoid, homomorphism and isomorphisms of semigroup and monoids, group, elementary properties, subgroup, symmetric group, direct products of two groups, group homomorphism, isomorphism, cyclic group, right coset, left coset and Lagrange's theorem. This is the detailed structure of the syllabus. Now let's see the sections. So the definition of an algebraic system. An algebraic system, we usually say simply an algebra, is a system consisting of a non-empty set A with n array operations, with one or more n array operations on set A. It is denoted by A, F1, F2, F3, etc., where F1, F2 are operations on set A. An algebraic structure is an algebraic system, that is A, F1, F2, etc., R1, R2, etc., where in addition to the operations Fi, the relation Ri are defined on set A. This leads to a structure on the elements of A there. For example, we can have one or more operations here. So if we take Z, that is set of integers under the operation plus, that is Z plus, Z, the operation plus. This is an algebraic structure. R under the operation plus, multiplication, that is R, plus, multiplication. It is again an algebraic structure. So these are the examples for an algebraic structure. Now let's see general properties for an algebraic system. Let A be a non-empty set and plus and dot, not necessarily the usual addition and multiplication, we are just defining two operations plus and dot, be any two binary operations on set A. Then for any elements A, B, C of A, we have first one, associative property for plus, that is A plus B plus C is equal to A plus B plus C. Second property, commutative property, that is A plus B is equal to B plus A. Next is the identity element for plus. There exists an identity element 0 which belongs to A such that for any A belongs to A plus 0 is equal to 0 plus A is equal to A there. Fourth one, that is the inverse element under the operation plus. For each A belongs to A, there exists an element B belongs to A, usually the negative of A, such that A plus B is equal to B plus A is equal to 0. That is A plus negative of A, which is equal to negative of A plus A, which is equal to the identity element 0 there. Next comes the associative property for multiplication, that is A dot B dot C is equal to A dot B dot C. Next is commutative property for dot, that is A dot B is equal to B dot A. Next, identity element, that is 1. For multiplication, the identity element is equal to 1, that is A dot 1 is equal to 1 dot A is equal to A then. Next is distributive of multiplication over addition, that is A dot B plus C is equal to A dot B plus A dot C, and B plus C dot A, which is equal to B dot A plus C dot A. Ninth property, that is the cancellation property, that is A dot B is equal to A dot C implies B is equal to C provided A is not equal to 0 then. And the last property, that is the idempotent property, that is A plus A is equal to A and A dot A is equal to A. Let's see an example for this. We know that the algebraic system, that is set of integers under the addition and multiplication, we can see that it satisfies all the 9 properties there. Okay, all the 9 properties means addition, that is associative property under addition, commutative, existence of identity, inverse, again in the sense of multiplication, associative, identity, inverse, distributive and cancellation property. So Z under the operation addition and multiplication satisfy all the properties, all the 9 properties that we have discussed now. Now let's see another one example, that is, let M2 of Z denote the set of all 2 by 2 matrices with integer n-reads. Let plus and multiplication denote the usual matrix addition and multiplication. Then M2 of Z plus dot is an algebraic system which is closed under both these operations and satisfies the associative and commutative property under addition there. So the 1 and 2 properties, that is associative under plus and commutative under the usual addition, is satisfied. Next we have to check whether the inverse is existing. Sorry, the identity is existing. The identity should be what? The 0 matrix there. So that is 0 is equal to 0, 0, 0, 0. Then for any A, matrix A is equal to A, B, C, D. When you operate this, we get the same thing. So the additive element, that is the inverse, sorry, the identity of this matrix will be 0, 0, 0, 0. Now for the inverse case, that is A plus negative of A is equal to negative of A plus A is equal to the identity matrix. That is what we have to get. So if A is equal to A, B, C, D, then what is negative A? Minus A, minus B, matrix minus A, matrix minus B, matrix minus, sorry, not matrix, the elements in that matrix is minus A, minus B, minus C, minus D. So when you operate it, you will get the identity matrix. So the properties 3 and 4 are satisfied. We again know that matrix multiplication is associative. So multiplication associative property is satisfied, that is property number 5 is satisfied. But in the case of property number 6, that is commutative property. Commutative property is not true, since if we take matrix A as 1, 2, 1, 1 and matrix B as 3, 7, 1, 0, when you multiply this, you get the matrix as 5, 7, 4, 7. It is not equal to when you multiply B into A, matrix B into A, you get some another matrix there. So commutative property is under usual multiplication is not satisfied in this case. That is, property number 6 is not true. Now what about the multiplicative identity? It is our usual identity, that is 1, 0, 0, 1. That is AI into IA is equal to A still. That is, property number 7 is satisfied. Also the property number 8 is satisfied, but the properties number 9 and 10 are not satisfied. Here are some examples that the property 9 and 10 are, it's not satisfying. So you can see that. Next topic, that is homomorphism and isomorphism. Let x comma dot and y comma star be 2 algebraic systems where dot and star are any operations. A function, you are defining a function f from x to y. That function is set known as a homomorphism from x comma dot to y comma star if for any x1 x2 belongs to capital X, we have f of x1 dot x2 is equal to what? F of x1 star f of x2. Thus the operations are preserved under homeomorphism. That is, it is also known as epimorphism, monomorphism or isomorphism if f is onto 1 to 1 or if it is onto 1 to 1 or 1 to 1 onto respectively. Okay. Now let's see the next topic, that is semi-groups and monoids. What is a semi-group and what is a monoid? So we are all familiar with what an algebraic structure is, right? That is a set S together with some operation. Okay, so an algebraic system, with the help of the algebraic structure, we will define what the semigroup and what the monoid is. An algebraic structure S comma dot is known as, the dot is an operation, is known as a semigroup where S is a non-empty set and dot is a binary operation which is associative. So an algebraic group is said to be semigroup if your operation is associative. If that operation is commutative, then the semigroup is said to be commutative semigroup or an abelian semigroup. A monoid, what is a monoid? So monoid is a semigroup with identity E. That is, monoid may be represented as M dot M comma operation dot comma the identity element E. If the identity element exists, then the semigroup is said to be monoid. Okay, so for the case of monoid, it should be associative. There should exist an identity element E also. Now let's see an example. Let Z plus, that is set of positive integers. Z plus under the addition, the operation addition, is a semigroup because it is associative and it is commutative. So it is a commutative semigroup also. But what about the identity? Identity doesn't exist because we know that under addition 0 is the identity element. But Z plus, it is set of positive integers. So there is no 0 there in that set. So it is not monoid. That is the example for a semigroup, a commutative semigroup, but not a monoid. Z plus under the addition. Next, sub-semigroups and sub-monoids. Let S star be a semigroup and T subset of S. Then T comma star is said to be a semigroup of S star if T is closed under the operation star then. And let M comma star comma E, that is the identity element, be a monoid and T subset of M. Then T comma star comma E is known as the submonoid if T is closed under the operation star and the identity E should belong to T then. So these are the definitions that we are seeing in the first section of this chapter. Now let us see what a group is. So now we are familiar with what the identity element, the associative property, closure property, associative property, existence of identity and existence of inverse commutative property. Now let us see what a group is. If G is a non-empty set and dot is a binary operation on G, then G comma dot is an algebraic structure in which it satisfies certain condition set. If all the four conditions are satisfied, we say G comma dot is a group. That is, the condition number 1 is that it should satisfy the closure property. That is, for every AB belongs to G, A under A operation A dot B, that is A operation, your corresponding operation into B should belong to G there. That is closure. Next is associative. For all ABC belongs to G, A dot B dot C is equal to A dot B dot C. Next is the existence of identity. That is, there exists an E belongs to G with A dot E is equal to E dot A is equal to A for every A belongs to G. Next is the existence of inverse. That is, for each A belongs to G, there is an element B belongs to G such that A dot B is equal to B dot A is equal to the identity element E there. So if all the four conditions are satisfied, that is the closure property, associative property, existence of identity, existence of inverse under the operation, then we say that G comma dot is a group. G comma operation is a group there. Furthermore, if it satisfies the commutative property, we say that this is an abelian group. So let us see some examples. Under the ordinary addition, set of integers, rational numbers, real numbers, complex numbers. Under addition, operation addition is an abelian group. Okay, none of these is a group under multiplication because 0 has no multiplicative inverse. Okay, however, Q star, R star, C star. What is Q star? Q star means non-zero elements of Q. R star means non-zero elements of R. C star means non-zero elements of C. They are abelian groups under ordinary multiplication. These are the examples for groups. Now let us see what the order of the group is. For every group G, the number of elements in G is called the order of G and it is denoted by cardinality of G. When the number of elements in a group is not finite, we say that G has infinite order there. If it is finite, we say it is finite order. Next is a theorem. For every group G, the identity of G is unique. The inverse of each element of G is unique. It is clear. The proof is like this. If E1, E2 are both identities in G, then E1 is equal to E1 and E2 is equal to E2. And the inverse case that A belongs to G and suppose B, C are both inverse of A, then B is equal to B into E, which is equal to B into AC, which is equal to BA into C, which is equal to EC, which is equal to C. That is B, what we got, B is equal to C there. So the inverse of each element of G is unique there. Now let's see the definition of what a subgroup is. So we know what a group is. After that we will see what a subgroup is. Let G be a group and phi which is not equal to H, which is a subset of G. If H is a group under the binary operation G, then we call H as a subgroup of G. That is, H is said to be a subgroup of G if H is a group of G under the binary operation. For example, let 3Z, that is Z is the set of integers under the operation plus. So 3Z is the set 0 plus or minus 3 plus or minus 6 plus or minus 9, etc. This 3Z under the operation plus is a subgroup of Z plus. Clear, right? Because 3Z under the operation plus is again a group there. Next, Z plus is a subgroup of R plus, because we know that the bigger set is R plus. If the bigger set R plus is a group, it is obviously clear that we can see that Z plus is again a group there. So Z plus is a group of R plus. Now let's see a note there. Let G comma star be a group. Then the two subgroups identity element singleton E comma star G comma star, that is full set, are called trivial subgroups or improper subgroups of G star. All other subgroups of G star are called the non-trivial subgroups or proper subgroups of G star. Now let's see a theorem. A non-empty subset H of a group G is a subgroup of G if and only if for every AB belongs to G, A star B belongs to H, and for every A belongs to H implies A inverse belongs to H. This is the case for proving that our given set is a subgroup of G. That is, it should satisfy the closure property, and second condition, the inverse should exist there. So first let us assume that let H star be a subgroup of G. Then H star is a group. Since it is a subgroup, it is a group also. Hence, for every AB belongs to H, what is clear, since it is a group, we know that the closure property is satisfied as well as the inverse will exist also. Therefore, what we can say, the sufficient part is true there. Now let's see, conversely assume that H subset of G and AB belongs to H. For every AB belongs to H, A star B belongs to H, I take it as equation number 1, and A inverse belongs to H also. That is, inverse also exists. So by closure property, since closure property is satisfied and since H is a subset under G, associative property will be true there. So if A belongs to H, then from 2, A inverse also belongs to H. So substitute that in equation number 1. So by 1, A star A inverse is equal to E. That is, E is belonging to our H there. That is, identity element and inverse exist in H. That is, for all X belongs to H, X star E is equal to E star X, which is equal to X there. So H star is a group. Since H is a subset of G, we can say that H star is a subgroup of G star. So this is how we prove that. Now let's see another one definition, that is group homomorphism. These definitions are important for us to do the problems. So if G comma dot and H comma star are groups and F is a function from G to H, then F is called a group homomorphism if for all AB belongs to G, F of A dot B is equal to F of A star F of B. That is same as we discussed before, that is F of A dot B is equal to F of A star F of B, then we say F is a group homomorphism. Let take a note there, let G comma dot and H comma star be groups with respective identities EG and EH. That is in G the identity element is EG and in H the identity element is represented by EH. If F is a function from G to H and it is a homomorphism, then first case is that F of the identity element of G, that is EG, is equal to EH. F of A inverse is equal to F of A the whole inverse for every A belongs to G. F of A raised to n is equal to F of A the whole raised to n for all A belongs to G and for all n belongs to the set of integers. F of S is a subgroup of H for each subgroup S of G then. Now let's see how an isomorphism is defined. So if F is a function from G comma dot to H comma star is a homomorphism, that is if your function is a homomorphism, we call F as an isomorphism if it is 1 1 1 1 and on 2. In this case G comma H are said to be isomorphic groups there. That is it should be the function if should be a homomorphism and that F should be also satisfy what 1 1 and on 2 condition, then it will be an isomorphic group there. Let's see an example. Let G be a group of complex number 1 minus 1 I minus I under the usual multiplication. I have shown the table here. From the table it is clear that with H is equal to Z4 under addition, consider F from G to H defined by F of 1 is equal to 0, F of minus 1 is equal to 2, F of I is equal to 1, F of minus I is equal to 3. So then F of I into minus I, that is F of I into minus I, from the table you get it as F of 1 which is equal to 0, which can be written as 1 plus 3, which is equal to F of I plus F of minus I. Similarly, F of minus 1 into minus I is equal to F of I, which is equal to F of minus 1 plus F of I. So you should check all the possible cases in this. I haven't checked all the cases, but you have to check that. So it is clear that what it is a subgroup of H there. Now let's see another one definition, that is cyclic group. A group G is called cyclic if there is an element X belongs to G such that for each A belongs to G, A is equal to X raised to N for some N belongs to Z. That is, for example, Z plus is a cyclic group because it was generated by, let us see that, that is Z plus, that is by both 1 and minus 1. It is generated by both 1 and minus 1. How is that? 0. 0 can be written as 0 into 1. 1 can be written as 1 into 1. 2 can be written as 2 into 1. 3 can be written as 3 into 1. Similarly, minus 1 can be written as 1 into minus 1. Minus 2, 2 into minus 1. Minus 3, 3 into minus 1. Minus 4, 4 into minus 1. So it is generated by, Z is generated by which all elements? 1 and minus 1. But Q under addition is not cyclic because we know that 1 by 2 belongs to Q, but no element can be written, 1 by 2 cannot be written as an integral multiple of 1 there. So there is no A belongs to Q such that X is equal to N times A, where N belongs to Z and X belongs to Q then. So set Z under addition is a cyclic group and Q under addition is not a cyclic group. Please do note that. Next we will see the definition of left quotient and right quotient, because we need that for proving the next theorem. That is, if H is a subgroup of G, then for each A belongs to G, the set AH is equal to set of all AH such that H belongs to set H is called the left coset of H in G, and the set HA, which is equal to HA such that H belongs to H, is the right coset of H in G there. So Lagrange's theorem, the statement is like that: if G is a finite group of order n with H as a subgroup of order m, then m divides n. That is, you are given that G is a group of order n and H is a subgroup of G of order m. Then what should we do? What should we find? M should divide n then. If H and G are equal, if H is equal to G, then we needn't prove that it will always divide, right? Otherwise, if m is less than n, and there exists an element A belongs to G minus H. Since A is not belonging to H there, it follows that AH is not equal to H. So AH intersection H is equal to an empty set phi there. If G belongs to AH union H, that is left set union H, then cardinality of G is equal to cardinality of AH plus cardinality of H. That is equal to cardinality of H plus cardinality of H. That is equal to 2 times cardinality of H. And hence we can prove the theorem. If not, there is an element B belongs to G minus of H union AH with BH intersection H is equal to empty, which is equal to BH intersection AH, and cardinality of BH is equal to cardinality of H. If G is equal to BH union AH union H, we have cardinality of G is equal to cardinality of BH, cardinality of AH plus cardinality of H. That is 3 times H. So the group is finite. So this the process terminates, and we can find that G is equal to A1H union A2H union A etc. AKH. Therefore, cardinality of G is equal to K times cardinality of H. From this, you can say that M divides M then. So this is module number 5. This is a brief about module number 5. So thank you everyone. Thank you.